Meghan McCain put some rhetorical pause. These things right here, rhetorically, with words, on Joy Behar after Joy Behar somehow tries to rationalize that Mike Bloomberg would be a good pick for the Democratic nomination. Let's talk about it. What is going on, everybody? Thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of Mikasa Sukasa, and as always, I am your humble host, Niko House. So, Meghan McCain, aka John McCain's daughter, surprisingly enough, she did not bring that up in this clip. I know, couldn't believe it. But, you know, before I even go into the clip, I do want to say this. You know what makes me mad about Meghan McCain? Meghan McCain pretends like she's stupid sometimes. And this clip is another example of that. And what I mean by that is the way she articulates herself here, the way she's articulated herself in the past when defending Tulsi Gabbard, not only on The View, but on Twitter as well. The way she articulated herself when she asked Bernie a very relevant question that I think deserved a better answer, which was, you know, Tulsi Gabbard sacrificed her career for you in a very specific situation like the one we're in right now, where Tulsi is being silenced by the debate metrics that are, once again, arbitrary, very similar to the arbitrary nature of the debates in 2016. And she was, you know, she was able to draw that comparison, and it kind of put Bernie on the spot, because I don't think that he was expecting a question like that to come from someone like Meghan McCain. So that's why it makes me a little bit mad when I hear her spew nonsense like she doesn't know better. I actually know somebody who knows Meghan McCain, and she told me that, like, basically Meghan will sometimes play the part because of who her dad is, and that's what people, you know, what the studios ask of her, and the producers, etc. But when you look at this clip, it just kind of makes you mad because, once again, you know she's not stupid. Like, you know she isn't. And what makes it so bad is that you know that she has to be playing stupid for a check. But every now and then, you know, even a blind squirrel finds a nut. All right? Catch my drift? Because she just puts Joy Behar on her ass. Let's check out this clip.
2011 on PBS. That's not something he said after a few drinks, like at dinner privately.
Exactly.
That's something he said on air. So but where there's smoke, there's just one second. Yeah. He also, there's a lawsuit the Washington Post dug up where he was sued for saying there was a woman who was having trouble finding a nanny for her child, and he said it's a blanking baby. It doesn't know the difference between you and anyone else. All you need is some black who doesn't even have to speak English to rescue it from a burning building.
You know, all I have to say,
but I'm just saying, you want to go up against Trump and you want to take the moral high ground, Democrats. I don't know if this guy is going to be the one.
I have to say, there are verified people on both sides. That was in Charlottesville. Yeah. He said that removing Confederate monuments was trying to take away our culture.
You want to take the moral high ground.
Belittled the Black Lives Movement. He questioned whether Barack Obama.
I'm not defending Trump because I'm attacking Bloomberg.
What are you saying then? Who are you going to vote for?
I'm saying that you're shiny, sparkly guy who's surging right now. Which, by the way, everybody surges in primary politics.
Well, yeah,
I remember when Gingrich did and Herman Cain did. Every candidate surges at one point or another.
He still thinks the Central Park Five
because he's a sparkly little. Because you know what? I just think it's so interesting that you have a problem that we are talking about a candidate the way we would any other candidate. He just happens to be at the top, getting the attention right now, which is why we're talking about it right now. What, I'm supposed to give Bloomberg a pass? Not on this show, not with this host.
I'd like to know who you're going to vote for. Well, who are you voting for?
Who I vote for is none of your business, but I am not voting for Trump, and I'm sure as hell not voting for Bloomberg.
So then you're not going to vote.
Okay?
Yeah. So
it's
you're
none of your business.
So you're not voting for Trump, and you're not voting for a Democrat. You said that already.
You guys have done a piss poor job of convincing me.
Bruh. Oh boy, what? Look, if that was a rap battle, you know, look, that would have been a mic drop. That, you know, she would have had the whole crew behind her, jumped on top of the show. Meghan McCain really just, I mean, Joy really doesn't ever come off sensible, to be completely honest with you. Her and Whoopi Goldberg are just the worst. Chase Thomas, thank you very much for the super chat. But what Meghan McCain just did, I mean, let's just go ahead and start from the end and work our way backwards. First of all, Joy, because she's getting beat up, rhetorically, of course, just jumps right into, well, Trump or Bloomberg? Who are you voting for? Meghan McCain is absolutely right. It's none of your damn business who she's voting for, unless she chooses to publicly endorse somebody. Not to mention, ladies and gentlemen, last time I checked, we are in the middle of a Democratic primary election, as Meghan McCain talked about, and that's what this whole segment is about. So this isn't the general election. Meghan McCain can once again vote for who the hell she wants to. And she made it clear that she's not voting for Bloomberg nor Donald Trump, which also leads me to believe that she might be voting for somebody else. And she doesn't really like Bernie all that much. You know, she defends him occasionally, but she doesn't like Bernie all that much. But you know who she defends more than anybody else? Tulsi Gabbard. Yeah. But hey, you know, why not push the most electable candidate? Why would they do something like that? The one who has the most crossover appeal with independents, conservatives, Trump supporters, and non-Trump supporters. Knowing, you know, that the Democrats are going to vote to beat Trump because y'all have fashioned this, you know, this idea that Trump is the most horrible person in the world. So they're going to vote for whatever Democrat's up there. And yet you can't even, the one who Tucker Carlson would vote for and bring on the show to criticize Donald Trump, the one who Meghan McCain defends and would vote for, the one that Ron Paul has endorsed, the one that Gary Johnson has endorsed. Like, why would we try to nominate her? Because we don't actually care about winning, do we, Democrats? Yeah, exactly. Now, that's cool to me that basically Meghan McCain just kind of gave us some insight into who she's voting for. But once again, you gotta. But it sounded like to me, if you all heard the same thing I did, it sounded like Joy was suggesting that Mike Bloomberg will absolutely be the nominee. Now, I've made this very clear. Thanks to the research done by Robbie Yeager of the MCSC Network, we found out that many of these people, including Whoopi Goldberg and I believe Joy Behar, they're part of the talent agency tandem of either UTA or CAA, the same talent agencies that are owned by the guys who literally said they were going to bring the hammer down on Tulsi Gabbard, as revealed in the WikiLeaks. So I'm sure you probably realize by now that these people get some insider information about who the party is going for and is looking to nominate. If you recall, they were very supportive of Kamala Harris, and Kamala is also part of that talent agency. Cory Booker is as well. Warren isn't officially part of it. However, she is part of the circle because she was invited to the, I don't know if you'll call him the CEO, but basically the president of the talent agency. She was invited to his wedding along with like the Saudi Arabian royal family, which is a whole another thing. But Joe Biden is as well. He's part of that talent agency. So Anna Navarro, she's part of it as well, which is why you see, even though Anna Navarro is supposedly conservative, she's literally been defending the most disgusting Democrats like Buttigieg and Bloomberg. So when you consider the fact that Joy Behar is speaking so matter-of-factly, like she knew the outcome, if you are pretending like you know the outcome, it's probably because you done got some information that other people who do not belong to this talent agency and are not close to the DNC wouldn't have gotten. And like Meghan McCain suggested, you are not trying to fashion a legitimate argument based off of logic and, like Meghan suggested once again, the moral high ground. You are merely pushing an agenda that was handed to you. That's why you are trying to assert matter-of-factly that Bloomberg or Trump will be the only two options available. And even still, that wouldn't be true. There are third-party options. And there is an option to consciously choose to go and vote for every other office and not vote for the president if you don't want to. That happened quite often last year in 2016, or last election, excuse me. So that's already a little problematic. We know where the DNC is headed. In my opinion, that gives us some insight into who the DNC is picking or plans on picking with the superdelegates if it goes to the second round. I've already made that clear that I believe that's exactly who they're picking because the DNC is broke. And when they're broke, they make decisions based off of who can bring in the money. And there is nobody that can bring in the money more so than, of course, a billionaire. So he's already given them $300,000 and bought his way on the debate stage. He's bought his way into the polls. He's bought his way into first place in Florida. It only makes sense that they would want Bloomberg. But that what we heard was an attempt to manufacture consent, because what Joy said is, oh, you're not voting for Trump, you're not voting for Bloomberg. Well, then who are you voting for? You're not voting for anybody. What? Okay. And if she chose not to vote for anybody, that would also be her choice as well. And I would absolutely respect that, because you done lost your damn mind putting up Bloomberg against Trump as it is. So now Joy also says when Meghan McCain reveals that Bloomberg literally said that you can just put some black person who doesn't even speak English to watch the baby and save it from a burning building, whatever the hell that part means. I don't get that. Which was obviously about as racist as you get. He made sure to touch all the bases, right? He's like, I don't want to just leave out black people. Let's go ahead and bring them Latinos in here too, man. You know, just put some black person who can't even speak English. Okay. He just really wanted to make sure that he touched all the bases, right? This is not something that Joy just pulled out of thin air. This is actually reported in a quote by the mainstream media. And instead of Joy acknowledging, you know what, this is problematic. And then, you know, going on to her spiel about, well, you know, we have to make a choice between him and Trump. And, you know, it completely ignored the whole racist comment and went on to say the stuff that Trump has said in the past, which, by the way, I want to be very clear about this. When you're reading talking points like Joy tends to do, and you're trying to read them in rapid succession, maybe try memorizing the talking points before you get onto your show. Because when you got to stop, because you saw that Meghan was just on one. She knew exactly what she wanted to say, right? Meghan was like, he said, like boom, 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 back. She clearly feels very strongly about this issue. And you know when Meghan doesn't feel strongly about the issue because, let's be clear, she just looks at the talking points just like Joy Behar does, right? That's what they all do, including Whoopi Goldberg, who only can read off of a card and barely do that. But Meghan is clearly passionate about this issue with Bloomberg, which I obviously agree with. And Joy is once again pushing an agenda, and she was reading off of a card. Like, you gotta, if you're so passionate about, you know, Trump's racism, then why don't you, if this issue is important to you, you don't have to. There are the racist things that Trump has said that has pissed me off. The things that he has done that has resonated with me in a way that just, you know, once again, infuriates me sometimes. I don't have to read off of a card. It's something I talk about. This is an issue that I might talk about once a day, once a week, but it's something I talk about regularly. And if I'm passionate about it, I may at least present it in a way, if I'm in front of a national television audience, that demonstrates that. But Joy's like, he said something about Charlottesville, both sides. He said he belittled Black Lives Matter, Central Park 5. Okay, so your response to Bloomberg is racist as hell. Your response to Bloomberg is racist as hell is, well, Trump is also kind of racist too. Now, him saying there are good people on both sides was dumb. It was wrong and it was dumb. It was racially insensitive. However, unfortunately, the truth of the matter is it was not racist. He was not directing that to most of the people out there were white people, if I'm being real, on both sides. There were a lot of white people on both sides. That's damn sure. So it wasn't like he might have belittled the movement, but he was not, however, making a racist comments. It was maybe racially insensitive. That's a whole different category. That we're not going to get into the depths of that, but that's a whole different category. Trump does implicitly racist things all the time. Unfortunately, he's not the only one on either the right or the left that does that. But when y'all get upset about the implicit racism that comes from Donald Trump, right? But the explicit racism that comes from Mike Bloomberg, not only through his words, but through his policies as well, not only abroad, well, he never had any policies abroad, but he did have executive power in the largest city in America, and you saw what he did with it, correct? Right? I mean, so not only did he have the words, but then if anybody's wondering, well, just because he says something racist doesn't mean he's going to be a racist mayor. It's because he was a racist mayor doesn't mean he's going to be a racist president. Yeah, at least in Bloomberg's case, it kind of absolutely does mean that. It kind of does. This is the same man, once again, that said, well, if you look at the statistics, we have a damning clip where the cops, who are no longer part of the NYPD because of Mike Bloomberg, essentially, at least his actions, they were talking about the quota that they have to fill on stop and frisk. And we're saying, yeah, we're not going to go to Upper West Side or Upper East Side. And they were like, well, why not? Yeah, why? So we can run into some senator's daughter, accidentally stop them, run into some politician or some businessman and accidentally stop them. We're not allowed. If we those are the facts. If we're going to be like Meghan said, if we're going to try to take the moral high ground here, which once again, the Democrats already have no moral high ground to take in regards to Trump. I want to be very clear about that. Whatever racist thing you think Trump, and I'm a black man, clearly, right? And I'm telling you, whatever racist thing you think Trump, right? So, but like Meghan said, there is no moral high ground that you can argue in favor of Mike Bloomberg against Donald Trump. And what's more disgusting is that for the same people, like, once again, Joy Behar, the same people like these, I won't cuss, like these people on CNN, not as much on MSNBC though. They've been actually willing to forgive, or I should say forget, about the racism displayed by Mike Bloomberg. And it isn't just Mike Bloomberg, but the racism displayed also by Pete Buttigieg. They don't care. They don't care what they've done to us. They don't care how they've affected our lives, whether it be through stop and frisk or destroying the houses of people of color. They don't care. And people always say, why do you bring up race? Why do you bring up the white savior complex? Why do you bring up, they say this to me, is that, why do you bring up how progressives are, white progressives, prominent white progressives, many of whom I consider friends, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to keep it 100 with you or with them. Why do I bring up the fact that white progressives will care or pretend to care about issues just to merely pat themselves on the back and they're treated as if they have done something special by merely acknowledging a reality about racial injustice, maybe sexism, the patriarchy, injustice in Palestine and Israel, injustice in Africa. Yeah, right. Like, we get it. White progressives ain't talking about no injustice in Africa, so go ahead and squash that. But people ask me why I talk about that, and I'll put it like this. I went through one of my fellow colleagues that is a really famous white progressive. She tweeted something about Mike Bloomberg terrorizing black men through stop and frisk. Then went back through all of her tweets. Black person who has been speaking out about Mike Bloomberg for weeks, or in some cases, months? No. Not a single time did she pay homage to those who have been talking about this issue, to those who are most affected by this issue. Not only that, but obviously a lot of these people know me. I know them. A lot of them have my number. A lot of them are also familiar with the interactions I've had with police officers, the fact that I've lived in New York, the fact that, reach out to me or any of the only two other prominent black progressives in independent journalism. At least that covers, the day-to-day election cycle. But you want to pat yourself on the back when it's time to call out Bloomberg, like we've been talking about Bloomberg. Or matter of fact, damn Bloomberg, we have been trying to get y'all to talk about police reform more often and hold people accountable and celebrate those who do want police reform, not just during an election. Or criminal justice reform, police reform. Like right now, the only person who's committed to completely and totally. So when we still have some of those same people who actually will tell you in the same breath, hey, look guys, I know that I said stop and frisk is absolutely another tool and is absolutely connected to the Jim Crow type of injustice that we have seen for over a century now, that also, of course, stemmed from slavery. Slavery carried over into Jim Crow, and then Jim Crow injustice is still alive and well today through policies like stop and frisk, the ridiculous voter ID laws in like the South, gentrification, redlining, things like that. They will sit there and tell you straight up that those are Jim Crow injustices if you ask them, put their right hand on the Bible. And then they'll sit there and tell you it should be Bloomberg doing this is a reason he should lose the election. Okay, so why don't you ask your chosen candidate or the people around you with a platform to advocate for reparation for those who have been affected by what you would happily admit is a generational problem of Jim Crow injustice? They'll say, oh, no, that's not a winning issue. It's not a winning issue. Oh, so the injustice to those people affected by that generational problem, that's a losing issue. But asking for compensation for those injustices, that is, care about it as much as you pretend to, when Bloomberg is about to stop your guy, why is that not a winning issue then? Because let me be clear about something. Y'all think that Trump is going to be easy to beat. You're wrong. You think that black voters haven't been moving towards Trump. Trump is doing something that the Democrats completely forgot to do and have not done, really, ever. Once they got the nomination and once they got the Oval Office, they never say black people. They never celebrate in any substantive way black people. They never brag about how happy they are about how black people are doing under their administration. Right? Even if Trump is wrong, even if it's clearly for electoral purposes, we know he don't really care all that much. But when you bring out the Tuskegee Airmen to celebrate black excellence, when you're constantly talking about how well black people are doing, instead of always, we're not doing as well as we would like to be as a whole. But when you work with people like Tulsi Gabbard to create the First Step Act to give felons a second chance and to make sure we get the innocent ones, at least the ones that we can prove are innocent, out of prison, and making sure that we reduce the recidivism rate. So you take care of that on the back end, and then you're also telling black people specifically, without any fear of political backlash, you're also telling black people, hey, look at how great you all are doing, and I'm happy to be a part of that, regardless of of whether or not it's genuine. Most shit in politics isn't genuine, but he's the only one unafraid to say what he knows black people want to hear. He's not afraid to pretend like caring about black excellence is like, he's not afraid to say I care about the success of black people specifically because of what they went through. He was the only one who went to a church and said clearly during his election, I'm telling y'all what black people were talking about, because y'all think that black people hate Trump, and that is not, black people were not a monolith. And if you think they're just going to walk over to the Democratic Party once again in 2020, that's not going to happen. Because he was the only one in 2016 who actually went to a black church and said in front of the entire world to see, if a cop shoots down a black man who was innocent, he absolutely deserves to be prosecuted. And it's a shame that we haven't seen that happen. He said that. No other person has said that. No other person would say that. So when you have somebody who is running on being one of the, running on he basically ran on implicit racism, and he's still like, but watch me say everything that the Democrats won't. That's genius. That's genius. People like Joy Behar haven't figured it out yet. You can, for every negative quote that you can point to a Donald Trump, I can point to you a positive one, objectively. Because he's a damn marketing genius. But like I said, the white progressives who will sit there and tell you Bloomberg stop and frisk policy and his general racism is a disqualifier. When you ask, okay, so we acknowledge that the people, the billionaires who have, in the white male patriarchy, that have suppressed black people overall and oppressed black people overall for generations through Jim Crow policies, through slavery, etc. You admit that that's a disqualifier, but you believe that compensation for that treatment is also a disqualifier. Now, what you're really saying is, well, to be honest with you, I'm not gonna get any of that, and so I don't care. But I do care, because I do care about the disqualifier of his racism only because will help me, right? That it'll help me for sure continue to be on top in whatever way. Not saying that every white person is on top, but you know what I'm saying? It'll ride. What they say, a rising tide raises all boats, except for we already know that the boat for black people and people of color in general have a bunch of leaky holes in them. And you don't care about patching those holes. You just care that your boat rises. And that's why I have these conversations. Because you sit here and have Meghan McCain have to, a Republican, that's, apparently all Republicans are racist too, remember? That's what we're told. A Republican has to tell Joy Behar, a Democrat, that Bloomberg doesn't get to take the moral high ground on racism, and Joy Behar as a leftist. Leftists are supposed to always get it right. A Republican has to tell Joy Behar, no, Bloomberg does not get to take the moral high ground on racism, and she can't process it. And y'all wonder why y'all losing elections and black people will not turn out for you. And that's a fact. So, Bob, thank you very much for the super chat. Will Bernie support DNC establishing racism, corruption after, or will he can break away from the Democratic Party, third party with Tulsi? Oh man, I'm going to take him at his word. He's probably going to back the Democratic Party, if I'm being real. I know some people will be pissed off by that, but it's just fact. But yeah, so And Tulsi's not doing a third party, not this iteration at least. So just to be clear about that. And I don't blame her because, to be completely honest with you, we haven't set up a good apparatus for her to successfully run in a third party. If people wanted her to run third party, they should have been doing what Nick Branya started doing. But the Green Party, Nick Branya has the People's Independent Party, or the Movement for a People's Party, excuse me. And then, of course, they have been doing a great job, but they're not anywhere near large enough because they haven't been around as long as the Green Party or the Libertarian Party. The Green Party and the Libertarian Party should have been fighting to get on the debate stage, for example, years ago. They still haven't done it. Like, they do it during the election, but then it comes off as politics, so. The video will be uploaded to Rockfin Masterly. Don't worry about it. So, that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for tuning into that live stream segment of Mikasa Tsukasa. And always remember, more than anything else, people, find your balance. Peace. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell if you like that segment of Mikasa Tsukasa. Of course, if YouTube is giving you trouble, as it always does, you can download the Rockfin app and follow us there. Also, if you want to continue to help our show grow, you can help us reach our goal of 500 patrons on Patreon and donate as little as $1. Really, anything helps. Other than that, always remember, people, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace.